You know, every time a Star Wars trailer comes out, I always, throughout the years, I've gotten very excited. All the way back to the special edition trailer in '97, I was a little kid, and I was so hyped to see these movies in theaters, even though I had already seen them. And then, of course, the Phantom Menace trailer got me super hyped. I mean, that was the internet wasn't what it was today, but that thing was, oh my goodness, it was humongous. And then, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, we saw that. Force Awakens trailer damn near put me in tears. And even the Last Jedi trailer, before we thought the movie was going to be bad, it was very enticing, very spicy. And, the scene of Snoke and Rey and Fulfill Your Destiny, and we were all kind of excited to see where's this going to go. Like, it just looked like a great movie. Wound up not being, my favorite Star Wars film whatsoever. Even the Rogue One trailer was fun. I think the Solo trailer was the first one where I was kind of like, you know what I mean? I'm a little skeptical about it. But with The Rise of Skywalker, there's a lot of mixed opinions here, and I think it's kind of deserved by Disney. So I'm starting to believe, and I'm not going to go into this because there's a lot of YouTube channels that are just... I'm kind of tired of people ranting about the same thing over and over again here. There's something else going on here I want to discuss, okay? You're not going to hear me talk about SJW, anything on here, because it's played out, all right, to me. But one thing that is certainly the case is that, regardless of what Kathleen Kennedy or JJ or whatever their goals were for this trilogy, one thing that's for certain is that there's a lot of emotional manipulation going on with these trailers, and I mean a lot of it. I think they're trying to do what they did with The Force Awakens, where they try to keep everything very cryptic because they want you to go see the film, which, of course, that makes sense. We know nothing about the plot publicly, although there have been spoilers that seem to be very legitimate based upon the clips shown in the trailer and spoilers that came out before the trailer even came out. And that, to me, solidifies and validates those spoilers. Now, I'm not going to talk about those in this video, but needless to say, if you've been following the spoiler culture for this film, this is not one of those misdirect type things, unless Disney is purposely putting out fake footage, which I don't think they are, but you never know. They're a crafty company and they've done things like this before. But I feel like if everything we're seeing in the trailer is legitimate, the way it was cut together, the way it was presented, was supposed to be toying with our emotions. Obviously, the 3PO scene where he says, I want to get one last look at my friends. That's obviously done to make us think he's going to die in the film. And it just doesn't work with me because even though it may have happened off screen, we have not seen 3PO have any sort of true emotional connection with any of these new characters, Rey, Finn, or Poe, at all. Like, very little maybe in Force Awakens. And, having him say that line to me just doesn't work, even though some people are just buying it. Some people are really hooked in by this. Also, the final scene where they zoom in on Rey's face and you hear them say, you hear Luke Skywalker say, the Force will be with you. And then Leia says, always. And then we see the trailer, the logo for the film. People were talking about how they were getting emotional because it's Luke and Leia. To me, it just doesn't work anymore. This sort of overemphasis on nostalgia was a key component to getting Force Awakens off the ground. The main thing they wanted to do with Force Awakens was they wanted to erase the memory of the prequels. That was the main thing they were trying to do. Do a retro movie like George said himself in the Charlie Rose interview. They wanted to make it less CGI, more practical effects, more realistic. They wanted it to look like the original trilogy. Like, Red Letter Media's made fun of this so many times. Hey, look, a TIE fighter. Hey, look, an X-Wing. I know what those are. There's no new ships as opposed to the main fighters. There's not, the X-Wings and TIE fighters are still in use, whereas with the prequels, you had all kinds of new ships. Now, again, I'm not saying the prequels are better, but they're definitely more ambitious. They're playing it safe with these movies, I feel. And then The Last Jedi tried to change things and go in a more, quote, bold direction, even though it really didn't, because it was just a rehash of stuff we've already seen. Plus, they butchered Luke Skywalker's character. I think people are underestimating how much Last Jedi hurt the Star Wars fandom based on what they did to Luke. Whether you agree with it or not, it doesn't matter. There's people out there who are irritated at that fact, and also the fact that in Last Jedi, there wasn't that much development for our leads. Here we are about to hit the third film in the trilogy, and none of these leads are really popular. Like, Rey, Finn, and Poe are just nothing characters to us, and we've seen them really overcome very little. You know, Finn, I would say, overcame the most, and his sort of arc sort of ended in Last Jedi because he finally defeated Phasma and became an official good guy. You know, at that point, that was the end of his arc. So we're left with Poe, who didn't really have much to do but argue with Holdo, and then a couple of cool scenes here and there, but he didn't really do anything really cool in that movie except for the opening sequence. The Yo Mama jokes were dumb, but you know, and then Rey, who hasn't really had any real adversity physically, you know what I mean? Obviously they're trying to hit her with some emotional adversity, but no physical adversity, which has hurt the movie, if you ask me. I mean, that's just my opinion. You know, I'm not looking at this from you know, these YouTube channels who are always trying to throw politics at you about Star Wars. I'm looking at it from a storytelling perspective with you guys. I'm looking for, forget all that SJW trash. Like, I'm looking at it from more so like a storytelling and narrative perspective as far as what they're doing going into this third film. So when I see this trailer, it's like more of the same thing where they're trying to play with your emotions purposely. It's not going to work because as much as I got emotional and teary legitimately when Carrie Fisher died 2 years ago, we saw her big send-off in Last Jedi. You know, bringing her back for this movie, I'm glad they did. She actually has top billing, which I'm really happy about in the sense of it's different, it's unique, it's a nice tribute, but at the same time, she never shot anything for this film. She passed away before she could. It's all stock footage. So, you know, we've mourned the loss of Carrie Fisher and we'll continue to do so. And J.J. Abrams was very close to her, so I can understand why he wants to give her that big push here in this movie. But, you know, we've already experienced so many emotional moments, including the scene in Last Jedi where her and Luke reunite. I mean, that's an emotional scene, right? I think it could have been done better, but it was an emotional scene nonetheless. And it's also the last time that Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher actually would do a scene together. You know what I mean? They would never do a scene together ever again, which is really sad and unfortunate to hear what's happened to this trilogy, a lot of it being real world events that affected it. But I wanted to go back to what I was talking about here, and that is the obvious, you know, with this trailer, they're being very cryptic, not wanting to show you anything, showing you Star Wars visuals, things that we've already seen before. We've already seen Star Destroyers. Yeah, they're cool visuals, don't get me wrong. We've seen lightsaber duels. There's not really any lightsaber duel moments that are like extraordinarily awesome here that we've seen in the trailers. You know, there's no shot that I think is just breathtaking except for maybe the Star Destroyers, you know, in space and the horses and all that, whatever, the space horses riding on top of them. That's a cool looking scene, but it's not like a scene where I'm just blown away like, oh my God, I can't wait to see this movie. There's nothing in this trailer that made me feel that way. You know, there's cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trashing it, but I feel like they're trying to emotionally manipulate us by showing that by basically showing us the same old stuff. Okay, Palpatine's here. It's Luke's voiceover. It's Leia. You know, we're still stuck on the old trilogy because they know the old trilogy is what fans care about the most, but it's just not going to work a third time around. For Force Awakens, right, seeing the Falcon, seeing Han Solo, seeing Chewie, those were great moments, dude. But now we've gotten to this third trilogy, and part of the reason as to why these new characters are not working is because they're not over, because they haven't gotten them over. You know, Kylo Ren, I would say, is probably the strongest of the new characters, but most Star Wars fans don't really care that much about Finn, Poe, and Rey. They care a little bit about Rey. They've somewhat got her over with certain people, but Finn and Poe, what is their purpose in this movie except to be sidekicks to Rey? I mean, that's kind of the way I'm seeing it. And even based on the spoilers, they don't really do as much as I thought they were going to do, even though they have some key moments here and there. So, you know, they're trying to get you to say, oh, I want to give this a chance and kind of play on that, you know, I grew up a Star Wars fan, I'm a big kid type of thing. And to me, and maybe I'm the only one, I want y'all to leave comments and see if you feel the same way. And if you don't, that's fine. I want you to tell me why you disagree with me. To me, it just seems like they're trying so hard to play with your nostalgia, but the problem is that you don't have an emotional connection to the new characters, so the nostalgia only blends into the new characters, and there's only so many times you can go back to the well. And that's the way I'm seeing this trailer. Like, it's supposed to make you feel a certain way, but for me, it just didn't. Whereas the Force Awakens trailer did. Now, with that being said, The Rise of Skywalker might end up being a great movie. We don't know. We haven't seen it yet. You know what I mean? We don't know. We could sit here and say it's probably not going to be good or it's probably going to be good, but we haven't seen it yet, and you never know what could happen. But I just feel like they're trying to do more of that mystery box stuff, but with this film, it's like there's not too much to play off of from Last Jedi. There's not like a set-made plot, so they're going to have to kind of reboot. It's not a reboot, but they're going to have to start things over again from a certain point, as opposed to picking up where Last Jedi left off. It is a year later, so... And unlike Empire Strikes Back, where you had all these unresolved issues like, you know, is Darth Vader Luke's father? How are they going to save Han Solo? You know, how's the rebellion going to win? With this movie, all we really have is how is the Resistance going to win and what's going to happen to Kylo and where's Palpatine fit into all this, if you haven't read the spoilers. See what I'm saying? That's all we have going into this. It's not as strong as the previous film, as the previous trilogy in any means. Because nobody really questioned Rey's heritage, only because, you know, Kylo told us what it was, even though it's probably going to get retconned in this film. You know what I mean? He told us in the last movie, and she started crying as if she realized it was true. So what is there to really latch onto here, except for, well, we sat through the last 2 movies. We sat through the last 8 movies. Let's see how this whole thing ends. I feel like it's going to be more of a curiosity thing than anything when people go see this film. I know for a fact that people who hate Star Wars are still going to go see this movie. I mean, you're going to go see it. I highly doubt it. And when I say hate Star Wars, I mean like love-hate. I mean fans that love Star Wars but hated Last Jedi and claim to hate Star Wars. You know, I'm not invested in Star Wars anymore, but you're going to go see the movie. Yeah, maybe not opening night, but I feel like most people are going to go see this thing just out of curiosity. Can J.J. Abrams really stick the landing, as they say? Can he really wrap up this trilogy correctly? I don't know. Based on the spoilers that have come out, which have apparently been verified, it doesn't look good, but they are doing reshoots, so let's see. At the end of the day, I predicted that this trilogy was going to end up being a wash, because even if you love Last Jedi, you might hate this movie if it undoes what Last Jedi did, or vice versa. If you hate Last Jedi, you might love this movie, but as a trilogy, you're always going to hate Last Jedi. See what I'm saying? So it's not like 3 good movies like Star Wars, Empire, and Return of the Jedi. Even though Return of the Jedi, some people don't like it as much as the first 2, very few people actually hate that movie. I haven't seen people who actually hate that film, and if you do hate it, I'm confused, man, because Return of the Jedi has maybe the best climax in Star Wars history, if you ask me. It's still got an unbelievable third act. Yeah, the first act is a little bit goofy, but there's so many amazing moments in that film. Oh, it's a great movie, man. I love Jedi so very much. And it's better than any of the sequel trilogy films, if you ask me. Some say Force Awakens is better. I don't think so. I think Jedi's better, but Return of the Jedi, but that's just me. And I liked Force Awakens a lot when it first came out. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about Disney kind of playing around with people's emotions, and are you buying it? Because I'm not. I mean, again, I'm not one of those. I'm not going to rant about how much I hate the franchise, because, you know, it's been done to death, dude. There's 1.5 million YouTube channels, you know, and thousands of videos destroying Last Jedi. I don't even have to say it myself, right? Y'all know this. It's all over YouTube. But, you know, going forward past The Last Jedi, I'm just not feeling the excitement. I am not feeling the excitement for this film like I felt for the last few ones that came out, including the prequels. I had so much more hype for the prequels, and I'm just talking to y'all emotionally here. Like, it just hits me, you know what I mean? Like, in the heart, like, I'm not invested. And I was telling myself that I wasn't, and I've had my friends tease me and tell me, yes, you are. You're going to get back into it. And I'm not. And it hasn't happened for me yet. I don't know, maybe when I see the movie, I might walk out of it emotional, and I might be shook, and I might be happy like I was with Force Awakens and some of the, you know, Revenge of the Sith, I would say. But I don't know if I'm going to feel that here. And right now, I'm not feeling any hype. Let me know what you think. We'll talk soon.